Have you ever felt that your head is just filled with so much stuff? There's so much going on in there. All these thoughts, anxieties and worries and fears, and it's just filled with all of this stuff going on, and it gets to the point where there's so much going on in your own head, you just don't know what to do with it. And it's like, oh, my head, my head. And as you've got all of these things going on inside your head, your levels of anxiety have increased, which means that your ability to cope has decreased. And it's just tough. Now, there are many different techniques to manage anxiety. And anxiety is very much like fear. And anxiety is a physical emotion that we experience physically as well as mentally. And this technique, I think, is fantastic. And I'd like you, if you will, to take a moment and perhaps try this technique. It's called the Rip It technique. And what I want you to do is to grab a piece of paper, any piece of paper, take this piece of paper and a pen and find a quiet place somewhere where you feel safe, where you're going to be uninterrupted, and just go and sit there. And I want you to take all of these thoughts that are just in your head, and I want you to get them to travel down your arm into your pen and scribble them onto your piece of paper. And just write everything down, like the biggest thought, the smallest thought, the silliest thought, the most serious thought, your feelings, everything that just comes out. Just let it flow out of you. You're not writing a short story that's going for publication, so don't worry about how it's written. Your handwriting isn't relevant. It can be an absolute scribbly scrawl. That's fine. It just whatever works best for you. When you've finished scribbling and writing and putting all of these different thoughts onto that piece of paper, I want you to just take a moment, put your pen down, just sit back, take a deep breath. I then want you to pick up that piece of paper that you've written all of those thoughts. They've come out of here and they've gone onto here. And get this piece of paper and rip it apart. Rip it apart. Put all of your energies into ripping this piece of paper apart. Just go crazy. When you've ripped that piece of paper apart, throw it into a bin. And that process of writing out your thoughts, pouring them out of you onto a piece of paper, taking that moment to breathe, and then ripping it apart in a frenzy, just ripping it apart. Really a very cathartic moment. And then to throw it into the rubbish bin. You will find that when you do this Rip It technique, it is really cathartic, it's really restorative, it really can be incredibly helpful and powerful as a simple technique that you can do for yourself. And what it is likely to do is to get all of these crazy things going around in your head, like, oh, and it almost calms everything down in there for a moment, and it gives you that opportunity where you don't feel so overwhelmed, where you're able to then take some of these things that are going around in your head and to put them into a new perspective and to reframe them and to give you the ability to be able to cope and manage them better. And if you're able to manage and cope with all of these things better, your anxiety will reduce, I'd expect will reduce to levels of manageability. And that's what it's all about. We are living in such an anxious time at the moment, and if you can find ways and methods where you can reduce that anxiety even for just that moment, it really will help you, and it will help you in your mental health. So I hope that is helpful, and I just want to say please take care and look after yourself. Thanks you. Bye.